Wanted to share just a quick little reading from a great book by Rod Dreher, Live Not by Lies. This was kind of a politically themed book that came out around, 2015, something like that. It feels a little outdated now, but at the time it was very poignant. We're living in a little bit of a different political climate, so it may sound eccentric, but at the time it was a pretty significant book. But I just want to read a short part from this, and then I'll explain why. In the spring of 2015, I received a phone call from an anxious stranger. The caller was an eminent physician. He told me that his elderly mother, a Czechoslovak immigrant to the United States, had spent 6 years of her youth as a political prisoner in her homeland. She had been part of the Catholic anti-communist resistance. Now in her 90s and living with her son and his family, the old woman had recently told her American son that events in the United States today reminded her of when communism first came to Czechoslovakia. It's easy to laugh this kind of thing off. Many of us have aging parents and are accustomed to having to talk them down from the ledge. After a cable news program stokes their fear or anxiety from the world outside their front door, I assume that this was probably the case with the elderly Czech woman. But there was something about the tension in the doctor's voice, and the fact that he felt compelled to reach out to a journalist he didn't even know, telling me that it would be too dangerous for me to use his name if I wrote about him. His question became my question. What if the old Czech woman sees something the rest of us do not? During the next few years, I spoke with many men and women who had once lived under communism. I asked them what they thought of the old woman's declaration. Did they also think that life in America is drifting towards some sort of totalitarianism? They all said yes, often emphatically. They were usually surprised by my question because they consider Americans to be hopelessly naive on the subject. In talking at length to some of the immigrants who found refuge in America, I discovered that they are genuinely angry with their fellow Americans who don't recognize what is happening. So I share that not to be political in any way, but in my experience and what I'm slowly gathering from other people is that is a similar sort of metaphor, we'll say. It's a metaphor for the experience of somebody who comes out of evangelicalism and joins, in my case, Lutheranism. I'm sure this is similar in Anglicanism and in Rome. What I notice as somebody who was not raised in Lutheranism is that there is a strong allergy towards anything evangelical. Now, for this analogy to work, that would mean that America is cradle Lutherans, people raised in the Lutheran Church. The immigrant would be those of us who came to Lutheranism. And then communism would be evangelicalism. Now, am I saying evangelicalism is as bad as communism or anything like that? No, I'm not saying that. But I think the analogy works. There's a sensitivity to people who came out of it and ran from it, that they see the little bits and pieces that a lot of people who have been raised, in this case, America, or in Lutheranism, don't see it, don't feel it, or don't mind it even. It's a weird thing I'm noticing with people I talk to online. So the people that have grown up in Lutheranism, they're okay if we have some curriculum that's from this particular evangelical ministry. They don't mind the elements of worship that gets changed because it's more modern and relevant. One thing I think that Lutherans have to come to terms with, especially Lutherans that were raised in Lutheranism, is that American Christianity is evangelicalism. It is the low church, Baptist, non-denominational, maybe a little charismatic when you turn on the radio, when you turn on the TV, especially when you watch movies that are Christian, so to speak, it's from an evangelical perspective. Those are the waters we swim in. That is the language of American Christianity. So it's a strange thing to come running out of that into churches that people who didn't come out of that, who are used to being in Lutheranism or Anglicanism or Roman Catholicism, whatever it may be, and the people that have been there in that world for a long time either don't see it or don't mind it. I'm not sure what it is. It's probably different for every individual circumstance, but it is a strange thing to see that people come running and screaming out of evangelicalism. We don't want this. We want something with stability. We want confessional doctrine. We want something that's rooted and stable and historic. And we come out of evangelicalism and we come to a place that we believe it's there. And the people who have been there before and been who welcome us with open arms, certainly, either don't notice this evangelical instability, innovative, very modern enthusiast sort of practice, behavior, this spirit almost. It's almost a way of thinking. It's very innovative. It's very consumerist. It's very emotion driven, and they don't see it. I feel like it's a strange thing. So I say all this just to put it out there. I'm sure a lot of people that have come out of evangelicalism into Lutheranism are agreeing with me. They see it, they feel it, they've hated it. I've had a ton of people tell me that. To the people who were raised in Lutheranism, cradle Lutherans, whatever, I would say pay a little more attention. This is something that maybe talk to some of the people that have come into it. Maybe we notice it better. Maybe, I don't want to say this is everybody. Certainly there are people that have been raised Lutheran that know what Lutheranism is, our confessions, our practice, our doctrine, all of that, the Lutheran identity. They know what that is and they want it to stay the way it has always been. There are those people. But I think there are a lot of people that just don't realize it, or maybe they realize it, but it doesn't seem like a big deal to them. And I would just want to share that it is a big deal, that it does matter, and that we should work towards allowing Lutheranism to remain what it has been for hundreds of years. The spirit of the conservative Reformation is that we want to look to the past with a positive attitude, and not necessarily embrace all of the new shiny things that come down the pipeline that won't be here 10, 15, 20 years from now. So I would encourage Lutherans who have been Lutheran for a long time to pay more attention to that. Maybe ask somebody who's recently converted, hey, what do you see in our church or in the things that we're doing here that you think might not be Lutheran in nature? And to the people that are excited and want to bring in non-Lutheran elements that are noticeably evangelical, I would just say you're playing with fire. There is doctrine that comes along with this practice. There is teaching that comes along with this style. Lutheran substance, evangelical style, as the saying goes, is not a thing. It doesn't work. So I would just put that out there as something for people to think about. It's an interesting phenomenon, and I know I'm not the only one. I've heard a lot of people ask me, talk with me about it, and I've seen a lot of comments. So I just wanted to share that, and hopefully that's something that can help you be more interested in what's going on and what is Lutheranism exactly. Are we following our confessions and being faithful to the traditions and the teachings and the things that our fathers in the faith have helped maintain and bring us up in?